Okay, good morning, folks. Or almost afternoon. We're off to painting with a delay. And I thought I was going to have some extra time to paint this weekend, and I do, but it just didn't start until now. I had to get some things done. So, as promised, next on the list, let me do a couple things. Let me make sure these headphones are charging. We may need them for something later. Come on. There we go. And so what exactly are we painting? Well, we have one of these Czech 38s that doesn't have a commander in the top, so we need to paint the commander. And that's first and foremost what we're going to do. But I want to take a look at something that I brought up the other day that I was talking about it, and I found it, and that was these other vehicles that I've mentioned when I was doing the Czech 38 project. These are the finished Czech 38 tanks, with the exception of this one, which will have a commander glued in the top there. Let's see if we can get this angled in the right way. And I mentioned that I had another Czech 38 from another manufacturer. I do. This is an old Skytrex one that I have. And I don't know if I'm going to do anything with it, because this thing is small. It's undersized. It has a texture on it, it almost looks like it's grainy. I may fool with it, but man, it is just a POS. I am not impressed with it at all. I'm not impressed with it at all. So, yeah, it's definitely 1/76 scale, or even smaller than that. It's pretty small. And as you can see, this was done many years ago with a lot crummier. You know, we're trying to hand paint the numbers, and none of that worked really well. So I think this is going to take a lot of TLC to make it operational. I don't know if it's really worth my time, to be honest with you. But the other vehicle I have, which I did finish about 20 years ago, is a model by MMS, and these are all resin, and this is that Martyr 3. And it's the same chassis. You can actually build one of these in the Plastic Soldier Company kit that comes in there. And it runs a little smaller. Are these the same size? Yeah, okay, so I guess this is 76 scale, 1/76, because this one is as well. And I think this one's going to be usable. Now, this one has done back when I used to layer things, but no dry brushing. And it doesn't look horrible, but it looks like crap compared to the stuff I've been putting out lately. So it's going to need some TLC, but just pretty much a repaint. And as you can see, there's some chairs and stuff that are missing. So that hole that comes on the extra hole for these guys will come in handy. But then at the same time, you know, by the time I'm done with it, am I better off just like, if I really want one of these, just buying another pack of these? I don't know. I knew I talked about it and I wanted to find them, so here they are. And the vid's reversed. Every fucking time. It didn't do that for many years. I get some. I need to get some post-its to put. Hey, the vid's reversed. Anyhow, so I don't know if this is worth my time fooling with these, but I wanted to find them. This one doesn't look bad, but it does have air pockets in places it shouldn't have, and it's kind of soft on detail. This is just primitive. Primitive. It has a bad finish on it. So, okay. enough of that. I noticed that somebody, Storm of Steel Wargaming, came out with where he did these Panzer IIIs this last week, and of course his are in 15s, and it looks like they have the oversized cupola as well on the 15 millimeter one. So something about however they made them, this is an extremely fat cupola. You could probably get Hermann Goering in that turret, as fat as it is. All right, so we've got this Panzer Commander, which is just barely looking out. And after that, I think we're going to jump on the T-70s. I'll tell you what, I'm going to actually go and spray these guys now so we can get that done, and then I'll be right back in a moment. Okay. It's actually cold and wet, but it's not that cold. It's maybe 57, something like that. All right, so we've got this guy here. This tank commander is also going to need the same treatment. I don't know that he's going to turn out okay because he is all black and stuff. Well, we got off to a later start than I was even thinking, so I'm a bit disappointed. And it's not like I slept in or anything. So we're going to base this commander in black as well. Yeah, I really wanted to paint last night, but I started way too late and I was just going to fall asleep. So that's why we did some video gaming instead. Yeah, I'm having to jump around like this all the time just so that with things that involve drying time, he's probably going to need a second coat. They'll be ready when the time comes for their moment of glory to step up. Okay, let's get a piece of. We're going to start that. Things falling down when we want to. All right. This can move off to the side. These are the two bases that are dry for the T-34s. Okay. So, not a lot to do on this guy other than like a damn face. And I've painted Panzer Commander guys before, and I hate the fact that they're black. You can get away with them using a field gray tunic and stuff like that if they're a self-propelled gun crew or something along those lines. But or late war, really late war, they did some other stuff. But if you want to be accurate, you want to do this period, they're going to be wearing all black. So black is not my favorite color to paint because it's almost not even worthwhile. But if you don't paint it, it is obvious that you didn't. Just got to find my brush that probably put it in the wrong place. No, not that one. It's either this one. There it is. All right, let's get the face colors out here. And the face colors is red leather. We haven't done this since we were painting some Huns. White here? No, I bet the white's not alive. Turn sideways here. All right. Let's get some of this and the black. Just should have enough to operate with. And it's literally just a face. This actually has really good detail for being a plastic figure. I saw that Plastic Soldier Company just came out with some of their figures in white metal. I just saw an announcement on it. They came out with some Soviets or something like that. Not something I'm going to buy because I got plenty of Soviets. But I got plenty of Soviets, and Soviets that I like better than some of those miniatures that are offered. And they're also out of production. The Soviets are. Alright, let's add more of this red color. I'm going to get some more of this that's not so damn watery. Painting these guys don't seem that much bigger than 15s. Of course, the 15s I have are kind of heroic scale, so to speak. I was coughing this morning like I thought my cough was going to come back. And it just kind of stopped. I don't know that I'm going to tinker with it much past this. I think that's good enough for me. Oh. Let's take a look at something. Oh no, not that color. Should be this one down here, like Old Rose or something like that. Because the piping on Panzerkreumen is pink. Old Rose. That's what we're going to use there. Let me, do I have one of these that's full color? With reenactors? I'm just regular Vermont guys. I got SS stuff. This is Vermont camouflage uniforms. I didn't know I had a book on the African Corps, an Osprey book on the African Corps. Which is the one I'm looking for. This, which is not one of my favorite books, because this has an author, this has an artist, an illustrator that I don't really care for. German Army in World War II, and it's one of these Osprey's compendiums. And who is this artist that I don't care for? Is it Stephen Andrew? I don't know. All these guys have the same damn face. They're all like brothers. All right, let's see if we got a Panzerkreumen one. I was going to look at it online because it's usually quicker. Just see if anything needs to stand out. You don't really need this stuff for World War II stuff. It's everywhere. Okay, here's a Panzerkreumen. He's got this little piping up here. It's like a triangle over the little roundel. That's pink. Yeah, all these folks have exactly the same. I don't know why I can't find one. And normally it wouldn't be that noticeable, but it is on black. I think it's just that triangle. The rest of his little cap doesn't have any piping. All right, that's what we're going to go with. And the little tricolor, we'll put that on afterwards. Now, there we go. That's some good consistency stuff. I had another one of these floating around here somewhere. We don't need that. Here it is. Hidden behind the arm. That's probably about right. Let's go here. So one thing I actually considered doing, and this would be one hell of a project and extremely time consuming, is going through and organizing pictures. I'm not going to do it, but I mean, I like the idea of doing it. I just don't like of how long it would take to. Man, that guy's painting looks like meat cutting charts. Way too much. Lancer Commander uniform. There we go. All right, here's a guy. Yeah, it's just that. Okay, he's got his little Nazi eagle there on the top. All right, we can do that in light gray. Okay, what other trim does he have? Lapels. Those little squares, I think, are hidden underneath something. So we got the lapels to do. And do they go around the ends or not? No. They go down the other end. Not the lapels, the little shoulder things. All right. And the roundel is black, then white, and then red. Okay. And we're leaving. It starts off as black, so let's get a little dot of white. And then a tiniest of dot of red. Boy, I'm just obsessed with trying to... I have these empty things there, and I'm wanting to clean the brush on them. I went to a restaurant yesterday as a fundraiser, and I'm like, I'm keeping some of those cups. We can use them for paint cups. But yet they are right there fooling me. That's pretty freaking close. We're going to go with that. And then the rest is just highlighting the black up. There's not much to this guy. We're going to leave the chords. And, oh, we got a hair. Yeah, I should do him some kind of blondish thing so it just stands out. But I'm going to do the black, and we're going to highlight this black first. And we can lose this this thing. And Kinaru, welcome. Welcome back. Let's get us a mixture here. One of the world's most boring uniforms to paint. We got to get that eagle on the front of his cap. Something like that should suffice. Hey, Randy. I thought I'd watch while I do some painting myself. You saw that picture I found of you? I was looking around and I said, man, this guy looks just like Randy in a Nazi uniform. A German army uniform. It's a guy named Hermann Bach, who's a Panzer commander that... I don't know if he survived the war, but he was pretty successful. He was one of those guys that was involved in that breakout of Cherkasy Pocket. And actually, he was one of the commanders in the relief to Stalingrad that didn't make it. And it's like, man, this guy looks just like Randy in a uniform. Playing for the bad guys. Yeah, we got no gaming tomorrow. No gaming tomorrow. Mitch is out blowing up fireworks or something like that. He's Asian New Year, whatever the hell he's doing. So I'm sorry that I'm in tomorrow. I just screwed myself out of a full Saturday. I meant Monday. Monday. I'm gonna leave these cords and completely in black. I was saying one thing I actually thought about doing was taking pictures I come across the internet, because the last time I was in World War II, was doing World War II, the internet really didn't exist. I mean, it did, but not to how it is now. And categorize things, basically tank tank photos, and not really interested that much in how people are necessarily painting the models, because they could paint them wrong, but actual photos, and decal sheet illustrations of what markings, what numbers certain tanks had at certain times by Panzer Division. I'm like, that would be fun to do, but the reality is, I'm not going to do all the Panzer Divisions, and I'm not going to do all the numbers. So it's just as easy probably just to go and look at all the Czech 38s, for instance, and see what numbers I wanted to go with, and just do it that way. But I think it'd be a fun exercise. I think it'd be a fun exercise. We got to give this guy some color. So we may not make him blonde, but we need to give him some lighter colored hair, because this guy just lacks all kinds of stuff in the color department. Yeah, the Czech 38 models actually are pretty good. They're pretty well. I think they turned out real well, and the model's particularly good. The Panzer IIIs, that cupula is just huge. It's just way too big. But they'll work. They're wargaming models. You know, if you go to a modeling site, you'll see everybody that says, "Oh, well, you got to rebuild this, and this axle's too far forward, and this, that, and the other." And I'm like, you're not going to find a perfect model. There isn't one out there. Some are less perfect than others, or more perfect than others. I think this is an okay base for that. But there's always going to be something else that is going to be lacking. There's always going to be something that's going to be lacking. So you just at some point have to go, they're just a representation of what the real thing looks like on the tabletop. And move on. Or be miserable. I remember when I was doing 1/35th scale modeling, I wanted to get... Good morning, Eric Gray. I wanted to get a model of a Panzer IV F2 for a scenario. And at that time, nobody made one. and that was like 1991. So I talked to one of the head guru guys, like, yeah, you got to buy the Italeri model, and you have to change this to it, and you got to add this, and you got to add the pistol ports, but it's missing that, and you just have to kludge it all together. I believe there's some reference material that details the turret numbers for each tanks in several German Panzer Division book. Yeah, it's all over the place. Like when I was, I'm building these for a scenario that it actually is the 7th Panzer Division in Russia. And as far as I can tell from the 7th Panzer Division in Russia used numbers that were just white outline. I didn't want to do white outline numbers because I already have other tanks that have them as well. I wanted to do these type of numbers. And like 7th Panzer used these, but in France. Well, I'm not going to do France. Well, I don't think I'm going to do France. But so I would have normally done the white outline numbers, but I wanted it to give it some color. So, but stuff like 11th Panzer Division. I should do these in the standard of 11th Panzer. 11th Panzer Division had two white numerals on all of their tanks. I don't like that. I like doing all three. Like in North Africa, a lot of the tanks had just one, and that would be like the company number. So just imagine, 30 tanks that all have the number 8 on them. That just looks lazy. So you got to do kind of a combination of, what do you think looks good and realism. You can't just be like, okay, well, we're going to paint these guys in, purple or something. But at the same time, you kind of have to do whatever you're happy with. And I'm fine compromising something for the sake of not being exactly accurate. But I'm not building them with divisional markings because that's just too limiting. As much as I'd like to do it, I think that's just too limiting. I don't know I don't know specifically what scenario they're going to be in all the time, but you kind of start seeing. I would have liked to have done all three of them different, but I don't want one with one yellow number and another one with 3 outlined numbers in white, and then another one with red numbers with white around them. It's a little too chaotic. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. And make this have a little bit of a different of color there. So these guys can be from the 7th, the 8th, the 12th, 19th, and 20th. I think that's the ones that they had. And then the 22nd, I have it written down somewhere. I didn't remember it. The next ones I have. Oh, I'm sorry. The other unit that had them was the 20th, 2nd Panzer Division, which didn't come online until early 42, and it tended to have paint schemes with. They started experimenting. It was in southern Russia. And in southern Russia in 42, they started experimenting with other colors, overspraying them, including like a dark yellow. So many of the 22nd Panzer Division's pictures and illustrations show them in like an armor dark yellow, which is really weird to look at a Czech 38 in yellow. It looks strange to me. It looks so strange that I'm not painting any of mine that way. I don't mind painting the martyrs that way, but I'm not really interested in doing that. Yeah. Well, I would do it just to find out, just find out what had it. I read somewhere, I don't remember where I found it, that as a general rule, and of course everything goes sideways when you're worried about getting attacked by Russians, but the two battalions in the Panzer Division and the Panzer Regiment generally had different numbers. So Battalion 1 and Battalion 2, for the most part, they were organized the same. They had like 3 companies, 2 light ones and a medium one. We're talking like 41. So you'd have a mixtures of Panzer 3s and Panzer 2s and light companies. And then the heavy company would have, or the medium company would have the Panzer 4s in it, which was anywhere between, I don't know, 14 to 23 or something of them, maybe even up to 25. But each one of those battalions would have their numbers differently. So if you had one Panzer Division that one of the battalions of the Panzer Regiment was these time of numbers, maybe the other one was the outlined white ones. And I came across that, I want to say a month ago. And of course I didn't write down where the hell it is. It may not be true, but it's like, okay, well, that's kind of interesting because sometimes you see different numbering schemes on the same vehicle. The easiest ones to track down is actually 6th Panzer Division, because 6th Panzer Division was the only one that went into Barbarossa with Czech 35s. And that was the unit that ran across, that's in the memoirs of Erhard Raus. And he's the one that ran into a KV-1 or a KV-2, depending on what story you hear, that was blocking a road and they had to deal with it and stuff. And you got Czech 35s. You got Czech 35s and the Panzer IVs in there. Panzer IVs are still in the medium company. But those, if you look at pictures of them, some of them have really small white numerals on the turret, 3 of them. And some of them only have a single yellow digit. So I wonder if they're just taken at a different time, or because there's sometimes you look at a photo and it says, oh, this is from early. It says this is from early Barbarossa, and then you'll see like a French house back there, and I'm like, that's obviously they mislabeled the photo. But it kind of gives you an idea to, of what to go with if that's important to you, so that you can have some parameters put in place, and you're not just pulling everything out of your nether regions. That's what I do it. I don't necessarily have to stick with what I see, but it's kind of a guide or a starting point on maybe how I want them to be represented. I don't think there's much more I can do to this guy. I mean, it's pretty much black on black. We can make his hair a little bit lighter, but much more than that. We're going to leave him as is. And of course, we'll have to seal him. We'll wait a little bit for that. Let's go check on those 270s. They should be dry by now. I'll be right back. Okay, so T70 wise, we're going to have to repaint some of this stuff. And this will show you what I'm talking about. If you use spray paint, you're going to have to miss some spots, or you're going to get it way too thick in certain places and ruin all the detail, or worse. So there's quite a bit that ends up getting left off when you do this. As you can see, and this is just starting off flipping them upside down and spraying them from both ends. You know, and I don't necessarily need it down here, so if I miss a little bit, it's okay. But you can see there's quite a bit missing. And you have to do it this way. This is almost kind of, or I have to do it this way. I don't have an airbrush, so, and I have no intention of ever getting one. So, this method works pretty well for me. And it does give you kind of a surface for your paint to start to stick on. Because if I was going to brush this on without anything painting, it would just be super slick. And no, I didn't wash these plastic things. That's my prerogative not to do that. Everybody cuts corners. That's the corner I cut. I'm not washing plastic parts. Because then I gotta dry them. I didn't dry them enough, and it ruins the paint. And... All right, so we're just gonna go over these spots that we kind of missed. And this stuff is really, really thin, so I've done several vehicles in this method. I've been pretty happy with it. The only thing I don't like about spray paint is, well, there's many things I don't like about it, is that I had to actually throw away 2 spray cans, even though I had only used a half of one and maybe a third of another, because they just got clogged. And I don't mean the tips got clogged, because I replaced them with something else. It was just like the nozzle that went up to the tip was clogged. So I had to go to the store a couple weeks ago and buy more black spray paint. So if I did use an airbrush, it would be just to prime things. It would just be to prime things and maybe just to apply sealant, but you know, get around inside this grating. If there's one part that's going to be really dark, it's going to be there. I had one guy that called me out the other day and said, "Hey, aren't those tanks you just built all from different platoons?" I said, "Yes, they are. But they all had to be from the same company, because that would be weird. But I didn't want them to, you know, I didn't want them with consecutive numbers, because it seemed weird. And the problem also with consecutive numbers is it uses up a lot of the same numbers. So like, let's say I wanted to call them 612, 613, 614. I'm using 6-1 3 times on both sides of the turret. That's a lot of 6 and 1s being used. So I needed to kind of spread the wealth. And that's how I decided to do it. You know, and figured they didn't operate that far away from each other, maybe in this case, and they could call them together to do kind of a last-minute conf group to work together. But I wanted them to be the same company for sure. So, but that's the reason I did it. It would look too hokey if I did that. And then the guy has the thing popping out. I made him the #1 tank in the 3rd platoon. Just, I didn't want to make him a 601 or whatever. That guy'd be too, he would be too up on the totem pole. And there might be a scenario where it's not a command tank. So that's the reason I did it. I don't just haphazardly just throw numbers on things. I put some thought into it. But sometimes you have to kind of go with your instinct. There's a lot of turret numberings where the Germans did, and they go over the vision slots. The turret numbers go over the vision slots on the side of the turrets. And it just doesn't look right. Doesn't look right to my eye. You know, and it's a pain to do that also, so it's a double whammy. So I just opt not to do that. I'll even look at real photos of them, of the tanks. It just doesn't look like that's what they should have done, to me anyways. Okay, there's one hole. I did a little better on this one. But I wouldn't mind doing divisional markings, but I just think it's too limiting. And you might have a scenario where a bunch of tanks are on the same side, and you got one that's from Panzerlehr, and you got another one that's from something else, and it just becomes too messy and chaotic for my taste. Now, if we were going to do Africa, yeah, I'd put African Corps symbols on it. You know. And then these guys should be ready to paint on the morning paint session tomorrow. That's what we'll start working on. These cute little things. Dreary day today. One of those days where it's the same time of day all day long. I don't know what kind of coffee I'm drinking, but it's not strong enough, obviously. If I'm yawning. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to paint this morning. I had to go take my daughter to work. She didn't want to drive, so that basically meant I kind of farted around for an hour until it was time for her to go. And then I came back. I had to go get a haircut, so I didn't want to get involved in something. You know, I don't want to get involved in something too long and have to. Oh! Huh. Okay, well, we'll paint the top of the tracks then. How strange. I don't want to get involved in something too complicated and then have to cut off. So. Yeah, it's days like this I don't like. It looks like the same time of day all day long, and they're really taxing, especially on a work day. They just gets real boring, and you're wondering, man, the day is really dragging on because it looks like it's the same the last time you looked at it. Okay. These should turn out to be nice looking little vehicles. Interesting that machine gun's on the wrong side of the tank. Paint all this black just to cover it up. Got a guy that's going to be in there, but I'm going to go ahead and paint that black as well. All right, and is this guy dry enough that we can give him a second coat? And he's screaming. He's like somebody stepped on his toe or something like that. He's very irate. All right. This should be dry enough. So we're going to go ahead and give this guy a coat of dull coat, top coat. I like using only certain brushes for these. Brushes that don't get used but for anything else. And we're just going to let them dry. This you do not want to spill. Okay, and I'm gonna wrap this one up because that's what I wanted to get done today is paint that Panzer Commander. And now I got those T-70s ready to go for in the morning, and we can hit the ground running. Okay, folks. Well, thanks for stopping by, and we'll catch you guys.